I caught her staring at my phone screen. Not just glancing, staring. Reading through my messages with deliberate focus, scrolling through apps I rarely used, checking folders I'd forgotten existed. When I walked into our bedroom and saw her, she didn't even flinch, just looked up calmly and said 4 words that would haunt me for weeks. It was a mistake. Her tone was casual, dismissive, like she was commenting on the weather rather than explaining why she'd been invading my privacy. My stomach dropped. Not because of the phone invasion itself, but because of how completely unbothered she seemed. How practiced her response was. "What was a mistake?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Looking through your phone," she replied, setting it down gently on the nightstand. "I thought I saw a message from someone I didn't recognize. Just wanted to make sure everything was okay." The explanation was smooth. Too smooth. And it didn't match what I'd actually seen. She hadn't been reading a single message. She'd been scrolling, searching, looking for something specific. I picked up my phone, checked what she might have seen, and that's when I noticed things I should have noticed before. Receipts from restaurants I'd never been to, hotel booking confirmations I'd never made, flight itineraries to cities I'd never visited, all saved in my email, but they weren't mine. They were hers, forwarded to my account, hidden. I realized immediately this wasn't a single lapse. There was a pattern here, and I'd been too trusting to see it. I spent the next 2 hours going through everything, every email folder, every saved receipt, every confirmation buried in accounts I rarely checked. The evidence was staggering. Dinner receipts from upscale restaurants dated on nights when my wife Amanda had told me she was working late. Hotel stays in cities where she'd supposedly attended conferences. Flights booked for weekends when she'd claimed to be visiting her mother. I laid them all out on our desk, created a timeline that made my hands shake. Amanda walked in while I was organizing the papers, saw what I was doing. Her eyes widened for just a second before her face smoothed into that same calm mask. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Looking at these receipts," I replied. "These hotel stays, these flights." I turned to face her. "You told me these were work trips, but the locations don't match. Chicago when you said Dallas. Luxury hotels when you said you were staying with colleagues." She walked closer, glancing at the papers. "Those are just expense reports. You know how confusing corporate travel can be." But I'd already checked the dates, against her calendar, against the stories she'd told. None of it matched, and one name kept appearing on every receipt. Every booking, a name I didn't recognize. Marcus Bennett. I felt the first spark of anger and betrayal. The name was Marcus Bennett. It appeared consistently across months of documentation. Marcus Bennett on hotel reservations. Marcus Bennett on dinner receipts for 2. Marcus Bennett on flight itineraries showing seats booked together. I looked up from the papers. "Who is Marcus Bennett?" Her face remained impassive. "A colleague. We travel together sometimes for work." "You share hotel rooms with a colleague?" "We book rooms in the same hotel," she said quickly, "for meetings." But the reservation showed a single room. 1 king bed. 2 adults. "This says 1 room," I pointed out. "That's a booking error. Hotels make mistakes." I pulled out another receipt. Different hotel, different city, same structure, 1 room, 2 names. "This is a different hotel, same error." Amanda's calm was cracking. This wasn't random. It wasn't coincidental. It was a pattern. Weekends and late nights and errands that had seemed innocent at the time. She had been doing this for months, and she'd been counting on me never checking, never questioning, never connecting the dots that were now impossible to ignore. I confronted her directly, keeping my emotions in check even though my heart was racing. "Amanda, I need you to be honest. What's really going on?" I spread the receipts across the desk. "These aren't work trips. This is a pattern." She tried to maintain composure, insisted it was all innocent. "You're reading too much into corporate travel. You don't understand how these things work." "Then explain," I said. "Explain why you share hotel rooms with Marcus Bennett. Explain why these expensive dinners happen on Friday nights. They're work trips that happen to fall on weekends." For 7 months, I pulled out my timeline. 7 months of weekend trips, of late-night dinners, of hotel stays you never mentioned. She opened her mouth, closed it. The look in her eyes betrayed her. Panic. Recognition. "Then why does this keep happening?" I whispered. "If it's all innocent, why lie about the locations? Why hide the receipts? The question hung in the air, heavy, because we both knew the answer. This wasn't a one-time lapse, this was calculated deception. Amanda started to panic, reaching for her phone with hands that weren't quite steady. "I need to check something," she said, unlocking her screen. I watched as she opened her hotel booking app. Her face went pale as she scrolled through the history. Everything I'd found was right there. Documented, time-stamped. "This isn't," she started. "These bookings were supposed to be." She stopped herself, realized she was about to admit something she couldn't take back. Her story was unraveling. The careful lies, the practiced explanations, all of it falling apart because the evidence was undeniable. She tried to close the app, but I'd already seen enough. Trips planned for next month, hotels reserved, flights booked, all with Marcus Bennett. Her phone pinged, a new message. She tried to silence it quickly, but I saw the name, Marcus Bennett. "Who's texting you?" I asked quietly. "Work," she replied too fast, but the preview showed on her lock screen before she could clear it. "Can't wait for this weekend. Missed you, not work." And from the way her hands were shaking, she knew I'd seen it. I saw it clearly then. The same man's name appearing across everything. Marcus Bennett on hotel reservations spanning 7 months. Marcus Bennett on flight itineraries to romantic destinations. Marcus Bennett on dinner receipts. Marcus Bennett texting my wife with messages that had nothing to do with work. My heart sank. This wasn't circumstantial. This wasn't coincidence. This was a deliberate affair conducted right under my nose while she told me she was working late. Amanda tried to snatch the phone from my hand, lunged for it with desperation. "Don't," she said. "Please don't read those." "Why not?" I asked, holding it away. "If it's just work, why does it matter?" "Because it's private, because you're invading my privacy." The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd been caught reading my phone, and now she was accusing me of invasion. "Private conversations with your colleague?" I asked. "The same colleague you share hotel rooms with?" She stopped reaching, stood there breathing heavily, trapped by her own messages. And I realized something. This had been going on for so long, so carefully planned. She'd been living a double life, and she'd gotten comfortable enough to make mistakes, like not deleting message previews, like not expecting me to ever check. "It's not what it looks like," Amanda yelled suddenly, desperate. But the pattern told me differently. Each timestamp showing when she'd told me one thing while doing another. Each location proving she'd lied. The hotel in Chicago dated March 15th. The same weekend she'd told me she was visiting her mother in Phoenix. The dinner in Boston dated April 22nd, a Friday night when she'd texted saying she was working late. But the restaurant receipt was timestamped 9:47 p.m. in a city 300 miles away. The flight to Miami dated May 10th. A weekend she'd said she was attending a conference in Seattle, not Miami, and the ticket showed she'd traveled with Marcus Bennett. Each piece aligned like a roadmap, a clear roadmap of betrayal. I pulled out my phone, started taking screenshots of everything, the receipts, the messages, the booking confirmations, proof she couldn't delete, evidence that made her betrayal permanent. Over the next few days, I discovered even more. Hidden email threads in accounts I didn't know she had, a secondary email using her maiden name, messages between her and Marcus going back further than the hotel receipts, almost a year. I found secret bank transfers, money moved from our joint account into a personal account I'd never known existed. Small amounts at first, 200 pounds here, 500 pounds there. Over time, they'd grown larger. When I traced where the money went, I found payments to hotels, gifts purchased, expenses for a relationship funded with our shared finances. There were shared app accounts, music streaming where they'd created playlists together, photo storage with pictures I'd never seen, pictures of them together, smiling, intimate. She had been hiding everything in plain sight, using my email for some receipts, our joint account for expenses, my trust as a shield. Her phone rang. Mid-afternoon, I saw the caller ID. Her mother, Diane. Too coincidental. And I remembered something Amanda had said months ago. Something I'd dismissed, but that now took on new meaning. "My mother thinks it's better this way," Amanda had said over breakfast one morning. I'd asked what she meant. Keeping some things private, not sharing everything with your spouse. At the time, I'd thought she meant having hobbies, individual friends, normal boundaries. But now I realized she'd been talking about keeping secrets, about her mother encouraging her to hide things, to maintain separate accounts and separate lives. I answered when Diane called, before Amanda could stop me. "Hello." Diane's voice was surprised. "Oh, I was expecting Amanda. She's not available. Can I help?" There was a pause. Then carefully, "I was calling to confirm plans for this weekend." "Plans for what?" I asked. Another pause. Longer. "To the family gathering." She said she'd mentioned it. But Amanda hadn't mentioned any gathering, and our shared calendar showed nothing. "What family gathering?" I pressed. "Perhaps she forgot to tell you. We should talk when she's available." Diane hung up quickly, too quickly, and I realized she wasn't just aware. She was facilitating it, covering for her daughter, providing alibis. She had allies in this betrayal. I traced the financial trail completely. The separate account revealed itself through credit card statements, small transfers that added up. Over the past year, she'd moved nearly £15,000 from our joint finances. £15,000. That was systematic embezzlement. And when I looked at what the money paid for, my anger turned cold. Hotels, expensive ones with champagne service and spa treatments, gifts, jewelry I'd never seen her wear, designer clothes kept somewhere else, travel expenses, flights and rental cars shared with someone who wasn't me. She'd been funding an entire relationship with our money, with funds I'd contributed, with resources we were supposed to be saving for our future. All of it redirected to finance her affair. She'd done it so carefully, so methodically, thinking I'd never notice, thinking I'd never check accounts closely enough. But she had underestimated my persistence, my ability to see patterns, my willingness to dig deeper. The financial betrayal was as deliberate as the emotional one. When I confronted Amanda with the financial evidence, she tried gaslighting. "You're imagining things," she said firmly, "seeing patterns that don't exist because you want to find something wrong." "I'm not imagining bank transfers," I replied. "You're overreacting, making connections that aren't there. This is paranoid." She turned it back on me, made my concern seem like my problem. "Maybe you should talk to someone. This level of suspicion isn't healthy." But each receipt contradicted her. Each message proved my suspicions weren't paranoid. I pulled out the hotel booking from 2 weeks ago. "I'm not imagining this," I said quietly. Showed her the confirmation. "You told me you were at a conference. This shows you at a resort. With him." Her face went pale. "That was a mistake. The booking was wrong." "Then why didn't you correct it? Why did you check in?" She had no answer. Just stood there while the evidence sat between us. Undeniable. I realized showing her individual pieces wasn't enough. She'd find excuses for each one. I needed to show her the complete pattern. The confrontation that night failed. Instead of admitting anything, Amanda escalated, yelled, became aggressive. "How dare you accuse me? After everything I've done for you, after years of being a good wife." She turned my questions into attacks, made herself the victim. "You're sneaking through my things, invading my privacy, making me feel like a criminal." The manipulation was textbook. "I haven't done anything wrong," she insisted, "but you've decided I'm guilty." "With Marcus Bennett?" I asked quietly. "Yes, with colleagues. That's how business works." But the pattern was undeniable. 7 months of consistent travel, 7 months of lies, 7 months of hidden expenses. I didn't engage with her anger, didn't fight back. Fighting would go nowhere. She was too skilled at manipulation. I needed to act strategically, document everything, build an undeniable case. So I let her yell, let her accuse. While I quietly continued gathering evidence, I began mapping Amanda's calendar against the evidence, her work schedule, her claimed trips, her weekend plans, every commitment she'd told me about versus where she'd actually been. The pattern became clearer. Her conference in Dallas had been a weekend in Chicago with Marcus. Her late nights at the office had been dinners at expensive restaurants. Her visits to her mother had been getaway trips to resorts. I created a detailed timeline, color-coded, cross-referenced with receipts and messages. And 1 week stood out, June 15th through 22nd. She'd told me she was attending mandatory training, said she'd be busy from morning to night. She'd sent brief texts, "Good morning, good night, too busy to call." But the receipts told a different story. That week, she hadn't been at training. She'd been in the Bahamas, at a luxury resort, with Marcus Bennett. 5-star accommodations, spa treatments, romantic dinners, all documented, all charged to her secret account, all happening while she sent messages saying she missed me. The betrayal was staggering. The calculated nature of it, the deliberate lies, the complete double life. During the week of June 15th through 22nd, every activity Amanda claimed contradicted the evidence. Morning training, actually breakfast on the beach. Afternoon workshops, actually snorkeling. Evening networking, actually romantic dinners. I had receipts for all of it. Spa treatments for 2, champagne service, couples massages, a sunset cruise booked under both names. The most damning evidence was photos. I'd found them in her cloud storage. Her and Marcus, smiling, kissing, looking at each other the way she used to look at me. Time-stamped, location tagged, June 17th, Bahamas. June 19th, Bahamas. Proof that couldn't be explained away. Amanda walked in mid-mapping session. Papers spread across the table, photos printed, bank statements highlighted, her complete itinerary documented. She froze in the doorway, saw what I'd created, saw the evidence laid out like a prosecution exhibit. She didn't speak, just stood there staring at proof organized so thoroughly that denial would be impossible. And in that silence I understood. She'd never expected to get caught, had been so confident, so certain I'd never look closely enough. But I had. The reaction on Amanda's face revealed everything. Pure guilt, undeniable fear, complete recognition. She didn't try to speak at first, just stood frozen, staring at the timeline, at the photos, at the receipts from the Bahamas. I didn't need to say anything. The evidence spoke. Her face said it all. The color draining, the trembling hands, the slight shake of her head. Finally, she whispered, "How long have you known?" "Long enough," I replied. I held up my phone, showed her folders of screenshots, messages, hotel confirmations, flight itineraries, bank transfers. I have copies of everything. Every receipt, every message, every lie matched against proof. It's all backed up, multiple places. You can't delete it. Amanda sank into a chair. The fight went out completely. "I never meant for this to happen," she said. "But that was a lie too. A year of maintained deception isn't something that just happens." "You meant for it," I corrected. "You just didn't mean to get caught." Amanda's mother tried to intervene, called my phone directly, her voice sharp. "You need to stop snooping through Amanda's things. What you're doing is invasive, abusive." "I'm protecting myself," I replied calmly, "from someone who's been lying for a year." "You don't know that's what's happening," Diane insisted. "You're jumping to conclusions." "I have receipts, messages, photos, bank statements." Silence. Then more carefully, "Even if Amanda made a mistake, that doesn't give you the right to violate her privacy." The manipulation was obvious. "Real love means honesty," I replied. "Something Amanda hasn't shown." But Diane had no evidence to dispute mine, so I took the next step. Sent an email to the hotel where Amanda and Marcus stayed most frequently. Attached receipts. Asked for confirmation. Did the same with the airline. With restaurants. Building an evidence trail that was independent, verified by third parties. The trail led to Marcus Bennett. I'd avoided looking into him until now, but it was time to understand who he was. I found him easily. Social media. Professional profiles. Marcus Bennett, 34. Works at Amanda's company. Same department, same team. Which explained how they'd met, how they'd had opportunities to travel. Employee records showed they'd been assigned to projects for 18 months. Since before the affair started, I found photos of them at company events, standing too close, Amanda's smile too bright, chemistry obvious, and I found his social media, private settings, but some posts were public, including one from 3 weeks ago, a sunset photo, captioned "Perfect evening with someone special." The location showed the same resort where Amanda had claimed to be at a conference. Same date, same weekend. Undeniable proof. Amanda called him mid-confrontation, right after I showed her the post, just pulled out her phone and dialed. I could hear his voice, concerned. "He knows," Amanda said. Just those 2 words. And from the sudden silence, Marcus understood. Amanda's panic was complete. The call with Marcus ended with him saying he needed time to think. She tried calling back, 3 times. 4, each went to voicemail. The pattern she'd relied on had failed. Marcus wasn't responding. Wasn't providing support, wasn't standing by her now that the affair was exposed. I watched her spiral, calling, texting, leaving desperate voicemails. "Please pick up, I need to talk to you." But nothing. Just silence from the man she'd risked our marriage for. the man she'd spent £15,000 on, and in that moment, I felt clarity. The affair wasn't some grand romance. It was selfish pleasure that crumbled facing consequences. I calmly packed things, clothes, documents, copies of evidence. "What are you doing?" Amanda asked, looking up from her phone. "Taking the next step," I replied. She watched as I loaded everything into my car, didn't try to stop me, just stood in the doorway looking lost. A woman who'd thought she was clever enough to sustain a double life, who'd underestimated my ability to notice patterns, and who was now facing consequences she'd never prepared for. I went straight to a lawyer, someone who specialized in divorce involving infidelity and financial misconduct. Patricia Williams reviewed my evidence, the timeline, the receipts, the messages, the bank statements. "This is extensive documentation," she said. "You've built a complete case." I wanted to be thorough, no room for denial. Patricia explained my legal position. Adultery was grounds for fault-based divorce. Amanda wouldn't be entitled to her usual share. The money taken could be recovered, claimed as theft. The evidence would be crucial. Every receipt, every message, every bank transfer. "She doesn't know you've retained counsel?" Patricia asked. "No, she thinks I'm just hurt, not prepared." "Good, keep it that way. Let her believe you're reacting emotionally. It will make her careless." We discussed filing for divorce, subpoenaing records, deposing Marcus Bennett. Every move Amanda made to hide her affair was now legally significant. Every lie now documented evidence. Every hidden expense now proof of misconduct. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't give emotional drama. Instead, I let the evidence speak. Notifications from hotels, emails from airlines, bank proofs showing where money went. Each piece worked in my favor, building a case that was undeniable. Patricia filed the divorce petition. Attached evidence summary, listed grounds as adultery and financial misconduct. Documents were served to Amanda at work, in front of colleagues who knew Marcus, who'd probably suspected but never said anything. The public nature was deliberate. Amanda's affair hadn't just betrayed me. She'd conducted it using company resources, creating liability for her employer. Marcus received a separate notice, a deposition request, demanding he testify about their relationship, about company travel, about misused resources. I watched from a distance, staying with my brother, communicating only through my lawyer. Amanda sent dozens of messages, voicemails, emails, begging to talk, to explain, but there was nothing to explain. She'd made choices, sustained them for a year. Now she faced consequences, and she realized she'd underestimated me completely, underestimated my ability to document truth, to protect myself legally. She thought my trust meant I was weak. She'd been wrong. Diane began distancing herself within days. Her supportive calls to Amanda became less frequent. She'd realized their cover-up had been exposed, that her role was potentially legally problematic. Patricia suggested we might subpoena Diane, ask her to testify about her knowledge, about family gatherings that had been alibis, about her advice to keep things private. The threat alone was enough. Diane stopped calling altogether, left Amanda to face consequences alone. I heard through friends that Amanda was desperate, that Marcus had ended their relationship once legal documents arrived, that her job was under review, that her double life had collapsed. She'd lost her husband, her boyfriend, her mother's support, her professional reputation, all because she'd underestimated one crucial thing. That truth, once discovered and documented, is more powerful than any lie. The pattern of her deception was now public record, filed with courts, shared with her employer, and there was no way to take it back. I prepared for the final confrontation, when we'd face each other in court, when her lies would be exposed officially, when the pattern would be presented to a judge. The confrontation came in a settlement meeting, before court, a last chance to resolve things. I arrived with Patricia, with folders organized by category: financial misconduct, infidelity, deception. Amanda arrived with her lawyer. She looked exhausted, defeated. Patricia laid it out methodically. The timeline, the hotel receipts showing a year with Marcus, the messages, the financial records showing £15,000 stolen, the photos from the Bahamas when Amanda had supposedly been at training, everything organized into one undeniable display. "Your client conducted a sustained affair," Patricia stated, "used marital funds to finance it, lied repeatedly, all documented." Amanda's lawyer reviewed the evidence. His face grew grim. "Can you dispute any of these facts?" he asked Amanda. She shook her head, couldn't speak, because there was no dispute possible. The evidence was complete, verified. Her original claim that it was a mistake crumbled. This wasn't a one-time lapse. This was calculated betrayal. She had to face the undeniable truth. She couldn't claim ignorance, couldn't claim innocence, couldn't manipulate the narrative. The pattern proved otherwise. Amanda tried to speak several times, started sentences she couldn't finish. Her voice faltered. She couldn't gaslight me anymore, couldn't make me doubt what I'd documented, couldn't turn my concerns into my failings. The evidence spoke louder. I stayed calm, didn't raise my voice, didn't show hurt, just sat while Patricia destroyed every defense. Your client claims the affair was brief. Here are receipts spanning 12 months. Physical but not emotional. Here are hotel stays and getaways. Didn't use marital funds. Here are transfers totaling £15,000. Each defense collapsed under evidence. At one point, Amanda whispered, "I'm sorry," but the apology was hollow. Too late. Sorry didn't undo a year of lies, didn't return stolen money, didn't erase betrayal. Her lawyer advised her to stop talking. So Amanda sat silently, watching her lies get dismantled, watching the pattern get exposed. And I saw it. Saw her admit the truth silently. Not with words, but with complete collapse of her defenses. The way she stopped trying to explain, just sat there accepting she'd been caught, exposed completely. After the meeting ended with no agreement, I took one final step, delivered evidence copies to Amanda's workplace, to HR, with a formal complaint about misused company resources, affairs on company time, travel expenses that weren't business-related. I sent documentation to Marcus Bennett's supervisor, to the ethics committee, to anyone with authority to investigate misconduct. The evidence showed both had used company travel for personal relationships, had claimed business expenses for romantic getaways, lied on reimbursement forms. Within a week, both were suspended pending investigation. Their professional reputations damaged by the same deception that damaged our marriage. Amanda called me, breaking no contact. "How could you do this, destroy my career?" "I didn't destroy anything," I replied calmly. "I documented truth. You destroyed your own career through your choices. But now everyone knows. Yes, now they do. Now the pattern is public, undeniable, irreversible." Her pride was gone. The confident woman who dismissed my concerns faced real consequences. Not just losing our marriage, but losing her job, her reputation, her standing, all because the truth couldn't be hidden anymore. Amanda had said it was a mistake, just one mistake, nothing to worry about. But the pattern proved otherwise. A year of deliberate lies, a year of systematic deception, 12 months of hotel stays and romantic dinners and stolen money and secret messages and elaborate cover stories. That wasn't a mistake. That was a strategy. A carefully executed plan to maintain a double life while keeping me blind. And she'd been confident it would work. So confident she'd grown careless, forwarding receipts to the wrong email, leaving message previews visible. Her confidence had been her downfall. It made her underestimate me, underestimate my ability to notice patterns, to connect dots, to document truth. I walked away with dignity, with documented proof, with legal protections. Most importantly, I walked away with clarity, understanding that trust isn't weakness, that questions aren't paranoia, that noticing patterns isn't overthinking. The evidence had given me power, not to hurt vindictively, but to protect completely, to ensure her deception couldn't be used against me. And for the first time in a year, I felt free, free from gaslighting, free from manipulation, free from wondering if I was crazy. The pattern had told me the truth. And I'd been brave enough to document it, patient enough to gather it, strategic enough to use it. Amanda had called it a mistake, but what she'd really made was a calculation, a belief that I'd never notice, never question, never prove what she was doing. She'd been wrong, and that mistake had cost her everything.